Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. So we're going to have a look at whether next week to 10 days for today's second video. It's going to take us almost to the end of June. And signs of a heat wave next week. Now we've been talking about this on and off in the videos for quite a few days now. Just subtle hints within the model output that some significantly hotter weather could be on the way for the final week of June. I think I first started mentioning this around a week or so ago, maybe a bit more. All of a sudden, the models have latched on to this possibility. So it now looks increasingly probable that next week will bring our first real heat of the summer. Of course, it's been very warm since April, actually. We've been in a very warm spell of weather. But it looks like next week could bring our first sort of 30 Celsius, 86 Fahrenheit type conditions, and continuing very dry as well. That's going to be the other big talking point, I think, looking ahead, because there's no sign of any particular rain, particularly for England and Wales, any substantial rain before the end of the month, certainly. So I'll bring you up to date with the latest developments in a second. Just to say that today's first video was having a look at the ECM 30-day ensemble models. So, excuse me, so you can check that video out on the ECM WF 30-day forecast page. We're linking to it from the homepage at Gazovitz, also on the YouTube channel, of course. And that takes you into the middle of July, and looks like much of Europe will be staying very warm through to the middle of July as well, with not too much sign of rain either. So is this starting to develop into a hot and sort of dry type summer pattern? Too early to say that, as I said yesterday, but certainly looks like very warm, hot conditions and also dry conditions are going to be maintained for the UK, for much of Northern Europe, through to the end of the month, certainly. So again, we'll get that for you in a second. Just to say about our PayPal and Patreon pages. So we've had another donor give some money donation to Gazovitz yesterday. This donor wants to remain anonymous, which is absolutely fine. If you would like to donate to Gazovitz, either by our PayPal page or our Patreon page, and you would like to remain anonymous, I've said I will give anybody that donates a shout out in the videos, but if you would like to remain anonymous, that's completely fine. We respect your wishes, and if this person is watching the video, then all I say is just a big thank you to you for giving us a donation at Gazovitz. It really does mean a great deal for you to do that, and a big thank you for doing that. So if you would like to become a donor or a patron for Gazovitz, you can do it either on this page. It's our Gazovitz paypal.me page. So I'll leave the link to both this page and the Patreon page in the description box at YouTube, and also linking to it on all pages at Gazovitz. So you can just give a one-off donation via PayPal, or you can become a patron for Gazovitz. This is our Patreon page, and that is a monthly donation, anything from $1 a month upwards. So it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money at all, and any amounts of money that are pledged, donated via either PayPal or Patreon are really welcome. So again, a big thank you to everybody for doing that. Right, so let's get on with today's video, and we're going to start off by having a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next 2 weeks. So the red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average. We're looking at Enfield Town in London. Today, the London Borough of Enfield. So, starting off pretty warm today. It's a very muggy air mass that we've got across the country at the moment. Going to freshen up through the course of tomorrow in the north, and in the south by Thursday. We're going to get a drop in the temperature coming along. Actually, going to get quite chilly by night later this week. So, Wednesday night to Thursday, and then possibly Thursday night to Friday, could be cold enough for touches of frost, perhaps, in some areas, which, when you have a very dry summer, is not that uncommon, to be honest. Even in the very hot summers, such as 1976, there were frosts by night at times through that summer. I think even in August in 1976, which was overall a very hot month, in August 1976, early on in the summer, in the month, I should say, of August 1976, there was actually frost recorded in some places, and this happens because the ground is so dry that it hasn't got any moisture in it. So if you've got a cooler air mass, and at times, even in the summer of 1976, we did bring down cooler air masses that didn't last very long, but for a day or two, the air mass turned cooler because the ground was so dry, no moisture, the ground cools very quickly. So almost kind of like going into desert type conditions, I suppose, in that particular summer. We aren't at that point yet for this summer, but nevertheless, when you have a dry summer, one of the things that can go with it, as well as having very hot temperatures, is also you can have some unusually cold temperatures by night. So we may get little touches of frost in one or two places later this week, but after that, temperatures are on the up through the weekend and into next week, becoming very, very warm indeed through the course of next week. Temperatures lifting significantly above the red line, so temperatures are definitely on the up next week, and very dry conditions as well. So for the next week to 10 days, basically for Enfield Town, it's completely dry. In the final days of June and into the first days of July, we have got some precipitation spikes. They might be indicating an increasing risk of thunder showers or thunderstorms, but two things to bear in mind with that. One is that it's at the very extended range of the ensemble and the model, so obviously it's very unreliable anyway, and two, there aren't that many spikes even at that point, so a low risk in about 2 weeks' time that we might get some precipitation. But essentially, we're looking at very dry conditions down in the south anyway for the next week to 10 days. These are the service temperature ensembles for Enfield, so that's 20 degrees just there, that's 10 degrees down there, that's freezing down there, and that is 30 degrees, 86 Fahrenheit up there. So you'll see we're starting off pretty warm and humid for the next couple of days, then we're dropping the temperature at the end of the week, going down into the teens Celsius during Thursday and Friday, with some quite chilly nights. Now bear in mind this is in the centre of London, so you're not going to get frost there, but even so, temperature going into single digits a couple of nights on Wednesday night and again on Thursday night, possibly on Friday night as well. So you will think that in northern parts of the country, in rural areas, it'll be lower than that, and so that's how we're just about coming away with a risk of a little bit of frost in some very specific localised places at the end of the week by night. However, we don't have to wait very long into weekend. See those temperatures lifting up, and then the temperatures are on a real upward curve essentially through much of next week actually. For flatlining our patch through the opening days of July, you'll notice we have got some ensemble members here going above 30 degrees Celsius. The ensemble mean is going to sort of mid to upper 20s Celsius, but there are several ensemble members there in the closing days of June that are getting very, very close to or going above 30 degrees Celsius. So that's heat wave type territory there in the final week of June. Now, temperature anomalies for the next week are still a little bit on the lowly side. So this is from the 19th to the 27th of June. And for England and Wales, still coming out a little bit warmer than average, but for Scotland and Northern Ireland, close to or a little bit below average. That's happening because we've got these cool nights coming up later in the week. Once that gets out of the way, I expect to see these anomaly charts trending warm big time. We go through to precipitation anomaly charts, and that's how they're looking. Significantly drier than average for the UK, most parts of the UK, particularly England, Wales and Ireland. France also coming out very substantially drier than average. Even Scotland looks like it's turning a little bit drier than average in the week ahead. So a very, very dry scene for much of Central, Northern and Western Europe. So that's how things are looking on Friday. We've got high pressure still dominating, but it just eases at the end of this week out to the west, which allows this slightly cooler air mass to come down from the north. So the temperatures will lower on Thursday and Friday. Well, tomorrow in the north, but for England and Wales, Thursday through to Friday. Still going to be pleasantly warm in the sunshine. It is the middle of June, so when the sun comes out, it's going to feel warm, whatever the air mass, really. But temperatures will be lower by day, and particularly notably lower by night, where there is that little bit of a frost risk in one or two places. Into the weekend, the high pressure remains dominant, and it starts to push back over the UK. So this will cut off that slightly cooler northerly flow, and we will see the temperatures in the June sunshine starting to lift up. So by Sunday, I imagine temperatures will be reaching sort of low to mid-20s Celsius, particularly for England and Wales, with bags of sunshine with that high pressure too. And then the ridge just extends through much of the Europe, and including the UK, through into the early part of next week. So that's Tuesday next week, a week away. So it's a big area of high pressure centred over the UK and just to our east. So we're starting to draw up more of a southerly to southeast wind. That will start to bring some hot air up from the south. So this is the beginnings of our potential heat wave through the early part of next week. And then that just intensifies through to the middle part of next week. There's the upper air temperatures. They're looking very warm, the 15 Celsius ice flow, which is kind of like hot air at this time of year. That is moving out of northern France into southern England, and that high pressure just continues to sit through the country into the second half of next week. So this is day 10. This is Friday 29th of June. And look at that, high pressure is dominant. It's over just ever so slightly to the east of the country. The wind is from a southeasterly direction. So again, hot air is moving up from the continent. There's the upper air temperature showing that the 15 Celsius ice firm is through England and Wales. That would be hot enough at the end of June to be lifting temperatures to 30 degrees, maybe even a little bit more than that, so becoming very warm to hot during the course of next week. The last day of June looks like that heat wave continues. There is low pressure developing around Biscay. That's trying to push thunderstorms up from the Bay of Biscay and from France. That does look a little bit more thundering as we go through the course of the 30th of June to the 1st of July. You could imagine there might be some thunderstorms kicking off across England and Wales with that. Maybe quite localised. But look at this. Very quickly, we get ourselves back to high pressure again. So this is Tuesday the 3rd of July, where the high pressure is returning, and this thundery low is being pushed back down into the Bay of Biscay. So we finish up pretty much where we start with the end of this GFS run, which is Thursday the 5th of July, with high pressure maintained. It's still very warm to probably hot, and a lot of dry weather coming through as well. These sort of ongoing patterns where the high pressure just keeps reinforcing itself are the kind of patterns that you see in the hot and dry drought type summers. So the summers like 1995 and 1976, they are the patterns that you get in those summers where the ridges will keep reinforcing themselves. And incidentally, there'll be the patterns that you get in the coldest of winters as well, where the blocking highs continue to reinforce themselves. They're very unusual patterns. They don't happen all that often. But we can't say at this point that we are going into a very hot / drought type summer. But certainly up to the end of June and start of July, it's that kind of pattern that you get in those summers. But of course, at any point, this could break down and we could go into a more unsettled pattern. As I said yesterday, it's still very, very early in the fate of this summer to be talking about a really hot and dry drought type summer. I remember at this point in 2010, there was quite a lot of speculation at that point that possibly we was going into a 1976 type drought summer. And in the end, it all went down the tubes. It deteriorated through July, and by August, we actually finished up with a very cool and wet month. So you just never know in this country. But it's certainly an interesting pattern that we're seeing here up to the start of July. This is the ECMWF, and again, high pressure just out to the west on Friday, bringing down this cool air from the north, or cooler air, I should say. Very quickly, that's cut off as the high pressure returns to be sitting over top of the country by Sunday, and then through to the early part of next week, that high pressure is intensifying. A big ridge forming there, stretched from the Atlantic all the way over to central parts of Europe, and its centre is actually over the British Isles. And then into the second half of next week, this very warm pattern continues. There's the upper air temperatures for Wednesday. They're looking very warm indeed. And the high pressure just continues to sit close to the country and a little bit to our east. Again, drawing up these dry and hot southerly to southeast winds. That's how the ECM finishes at day 10. The high pressure is dominant. It's not going anywhere fast. It's anchored over and to the east of the country. The wind is coming up from an east to southeast direction. It's a dry wind as well as being a hot wind. Have a look at the upper air temperatures. So the 15 Celsius, I suppose, covering pretty much the whole of the country. So again, that could easily be lifting temperatures to 30 degrees 86 Fahrenheit. And then finally, the GM looks like that, a little bit cooler and fresher at the end of the week. Then the ridge comes back over the weekend to be centred over us this weekend and into next week. Very dry and increasingly warm weather through to the early part of next week. And then this pattern goes on through to the end of next week. That's how we look at day 10. Again, the high pressure is dominant. It's blocking out these areas of low pressure. We have got low pressure. We've got low pressure there around Newfoundland. We've got low pressure in the central part of the Atlantic. Got low pressure going down Spain and Portugal. So low pressures are there, but this big ridge of high pressure is dominating and it's blocking off the Atlantic. The jet stream is going up there somewhere, so it's a very long way away from us, and essentially again that's locked in to high pressure, to hot and dry weather in the closing days of June. So it is an interesting pattern. We can't say that this is going to go on and on and on, as it did in those classic summers that I spoke about a few minutes ago. 1995 was our last drought summer. We have had hot summers since then. We had 2003 and 2006, and also to some degree 2013. What's interesting about those three summers is that whilst they were hot summers, they had regular thundery breakdowns, thunderstorms. So although yes, they were hot, and particularly August 2003 was incredibly hot for a time, and also July 2006 was a very, very hot month as well. Regular thunderstorms meant that the situation didn't get too severe from a rainfall perspective. This looks more like the kind of pattern you get in those really dry and hot summers, like 1995. But again, it's early days for this summer, so we've just got to settle down, see where it goes. Will it only last a week or two, and then we'll get, as we expect, our thundery breakdown, and then perhaps go into an Atlantic phase? Or will this pattern keep repeating itself through July and into August? If we've still got this kind of pattern going on into August, then it will be very, very dry. There's no doubt about it. But it's still early days, early doors, if you like, for the summer of 2018. What we can say, though, with growing confidence, is next week is not only looking very dry, but at the moment it's looking increasingly hot as well. So obviously we'll be keeping you updated. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.